Chapter 3468. Wind Lotus Elder's Invitation. Inwardly cursing the three ancestors, Lin Moyu knew exactly what the three ancestors was after, but he wouldn't say it out loud. Instead, he smiled and congratulated.
We each got what we needed. It was a pleasant transaction.
The three ancestors' avatar chuckled.
This ancestor has a question that perhaps shouldn't be asked, but still wants to ask, how did young friend Lin deal with the heaven-seeking seal? And that great Dao realm corpse?
Lin Moyu smiled and said,
The spirit of the heaven-seeking seal was too arrogant. I didn't like that spirit, so I destroyed it.
The three ancestors were stunned on the spot.
Destroyed it?
Lin Moyu said,
I know what you want to ask. After destroying it, the heaven-seeking seal dropped from the great Dao realm to the Dao venerable realm, but I don't regret it.
After hearing this, the three ancestors couldn't help but sigh.
A spirit wanting to become human indeed faces many tribulations. This was its tribulation, which it failed to overcome.
Lin Moyu said,
The world is full of endless tribulations. Aren't we cultivators facing tribulations at every step? If I didn't destroy it, it would have tried every means to kill me. I won't leave such a hidden danger for myself. Even if it was willing to acknowledge me as its master, it depends on whether I trust it or not.
The three ancestors didn't dwell on this issue further, instead saying,
What about that great Dao realm corpse? Does young friend have any use for it? If not, you could sell it to this ancestor. The price is negotiable.
Lin Moyu said,
That's not a great Dao realm corpse. That's Dao Lord Lifeong. He's not dead, so what do I have to sell? Not dead?
The three ancestors was surprised again, feeling that what happened here completely exceeded his understanding. Originally, with the small house in Lin Moyu's hands, even if it was placed in a storage ring, they had ways to sense what was happening outside. But Lin Moyu had used some unknown method to completely block his connection with the outside world. He knew nothing about everything that had just happened here. The three ancestors' reaction also let Lin Moyu know that he wasn't fully aware of what was happening here either. He knew some things, but not in detail.
The three ancestors must have used some special methods to see the situation here. The Lu Feng Chamber of Commerce always manages to obtain some extremely secret information, probably because of this.
Lin Moyu thought to himself, but outwardly said,
Dao Lord Lifeng had been in a state of false death. My arrival this time gave him an opportunity. Dao Lord Lifeng has now returned to the Great Dao.
The three ancestors said,
Great Dao realm beings always have various methods. He must be severely injured, right?
Lin Moyu nodded.
Yes, Dao Lord Lifeng is severely injured. However, observing his fortune, surviving a great calamity must bring great fortune. After returning to the Great Dao, he should be able to recover.
The three ancestors sighed lightly again, for reasons unknown.
Young friend Lin, what are your plans next?
Lin Moyu said,
I have nothing particular planned for now. I will return to the Eastern continent. Does the three ancestors have any further instructions?
The so-called instructions, of course, meant doing business. The three ancestors said,
This ancestor promised to take you to the Outer Realm relics. This matter is still in preparation. The time isn't right yet, it might need a bit more time.
Lin Moyu smiled and said,
There's no rush. The three ancestors can prepare slowly. I happen to need to go back for some closed-door cultivation. When everything is ready, the three ancestors can send someone to inform me.
The three ancestors said,
Good, we'll meet again then.
After Lin Moyu left, the three ancestors' avatar began to take action, starting to draw divine runes to repair the core formation of the Dao Protection Fortress. His movements were very slow, the speed of drawing divine runes far inferior to Lin Moyu's. If Lin Moyu were here, he would see that the three ancestors hadn't gone far in the way of divine runes. The reason he was able to repair the core formation wasn't because they understood the core formation, but for other reasons. For example, if the three ancestors needed the formation diagram here, they could imitate it and slowly complete the repairs. However, repairing in this way would always have flaws. It was almost impossible to restore it to its original peak state. In the commercial city, the three ancestors' main body murmured softly.
This youngster's methods are getting stronger and stronger. Even this ancestor can't see through them clearly. A great Tao realm treasure like the heaven-seeking seal, he gave it up so decisively. Tao Lord Lifeng has returned to the great Tao. If one day he enters the outer great Tao, Tao Lord Lifeng will surely repay him. It seems that in future dealings with him, I can give up a bit more profit.
In business, sometimes giving up profit isn't a bad thing. Giving up profit here might allow for more profit to be earned elsewhere. The three ancestors understood this principle well. Lin Moyu's status in his heart rose once again. Outside Rift Wind Cliff, Lin Moyu returned along the original path. Walking out from the cliff formed by divine runes, Lin Moyu saw Wind Lotus Elder. Wind Lotus Elder was cultivating. Sensing Lin Moyu, he looked up.
Young friend Lin, was your journey smooth?
Lin Moyu smiled and said,
It was quite smooth. Thank you, Elder.
Wind Lotus Elder staying here, besides cultivating himself, had another meaning. He was protecting Lin Moyu. Wind Lotus Elder asked,
Does young friend Lin have any plans next?
Lin Moyu said,
Does Elder have any instructions? This junior has nothing particular planned next.
Wind Lotus Elder smiled and said,
Wind would like to invite young friend to be a guest at the ancient Lotus Holy Land, to taste the delicacies of the ancient Lotus Holy Land.
Lin Moyu heard another layer of meaning in Wind Lotus Elder's words. His invitation was probably not just for tasting delicacies. However, he wasn't forcing, so it was just an invitation. Lin Moyu estimated the time and didn't refuse.
This junior has long yearned for the delicacies of the ancient Lotus Holy Land. Even if Elder didn't invite me, this junior would have found an opportunity to visit and beg for food.
Wind Lotus Elder laughed heartily.
Good, then why not seize the day? Wind has just finished cultivation. Shall we go together?
Lin Moyu said.
Good, this junior still has some small matters to attend to. I trouble Elder to wait half a day.
Wind Lotus Elder said.
Of course. Wind will wait for young friend 100 miles east of Wind One City. Young friend need not hurry.
Saying this, Wind Lotus Elder flew up and directly left Rift Wind Cliff. After he left, Lin Moyu's gaze carried a hint of contemplation.
Inviting me to the ancient Lotus Holy Land, what exactly is the intention?
Back then, in the Eastern continent, Fire Lotus Elder's attitude towards him was also extremely good. Immortal Lotus Holy Maiden was also upright and honest. Lin Moyu believed they shouldn't have any other schemes. That being the case, there was no harm in going. With his strength, he wasn't afraid of any tricks they might play. Lin Moyu also left Rift Wind Cliff, returning to the Lu Feng Chamber of Commerce in Wind City. In the Chamber of Commerce, Lu Zhang was already waiting there. Seeing Lin Moyu, he immediately said,
Thank you, Mr. Lin. I have received news that Mr. Lin has completed the three ancestors' matter.
Lin Moyu said,
The three ancestors and I had a fair trade. Elder Lu doesn't need to be so polite. I will be leaving, and before I go, I want to say a word to Elder Lu. Wind City might fall into chaos. Elder Lu should be careful here. If possible, you can take your people and temporarily avoid it.
Lu Zhang was slightly startled.
Mr. Lin is referring to the Wu family?
Lin Moyu nodded.
I observe that the Wu family's fortune has turned to misfortune reaching the heavens. It won't be long before chaos erupts. When the Wu family falls into chaos, Wind City will surely follow into great chaos. Even the entire Rift Wind Cliff area won't be peaceful. Although the Lu Feng Chamber of Commerce is powerful, it will inevitably be affected. I'm just mentioning a possibility. Elder Lu should make his own decision.
Lu Zhang took Lin Moyu's words very seriously and said solemnly,
Son understands. Sing will temporarily close the Chamber of Commerce and lead people to avoid it.
Chapter 3469. Digging up the Wu family's roots. Lin Moyu took the Wu family's warship from Wind City back to Wind One City. Before leaving, Lin Moyu sent away the Misfortune Lich. Over such a long time, the Misfortune Lich had already converted a large amount of fortune into misfortune. The Wu family's fortune was very strong, and the composition of the family's fortune was very complex, affecting every member of the entire family. Relying solely on the Misfortune Lich, it was impossible to truly plunge the Wu family into misfortune. The Wu family's fortune would continuously wash away the misfortune until it was completely cleansed. Unless there was a truly unsolvable hidden danger within the family, the misfortune would continue to exist until it was eliminated. Just like the fortune of the Heavenly Fox clan at that time, because there was a problem with their ancestral land, the misfortune persisted. The Misfortune Lich had only made a start, forming a trigger. The real misfortune would be created by Lin Moyu's own hands. The Wu family had offended him, and this karmic debt had already been formed. It wasn't so easy to resolve. Lin Moyu wanted to sever the karmic ties, but he wasn't afraid of karma. If the karma really came upon him, Lin Moyu wouldn't be polite. He wouldn't let himself suffer just to avoid karma. That would make it difficult for even his Tao heart and thoughts to be at ease. Lin Moyu's principle was, if there's a grudge, it must be repaid. If you punch me once, I'll return 100 punches. He wouldn't be polite at all. After flying out 10,000 meters from Wind One City, Lin Moyu found a good position and took out the formation disk of the ceiling absolute formation, activating it. His aura was quickly hidden, making it difficult for others to detect. Then he began to draw runes. More complex divine runes were now at his fingertips, let alone mere runes. His hands moved like lightning, and in an instant, countless runes flew out from his palms, flying towards Wind One City. The formation in Wind One City was connected to the formation in Wind City. Between the two cities, a large area was covered by formations. Lin Moyu's runes silently infiltrated the formation in Wind One City, then spread towards Wind City along the formation's veins. Soon, the formation in One City was silently and completely changed. It still appeared to be controlled by the Wu family, but in reality, the true controller had become Lin Moyu. In the past, Lin Moyu would have found it difficult to achieve this, but after researching divine rune formations, Lin Moyu felt his understanding of formations had deepened further. Divine rune formations were like profound problems, while ordinary formations were like simple questions, presenting almost no difficulty. More and more runes flew out, and Lin Moyu's infiltration of the Wu family's formations became stronger and stronger. One formation after another was infiltrated and captured, but the Wu family was completely unaware of this. Only Lin Moyu could see that as he controlled more and more formations, the Wu family's fortune was changing, with misfortune rapidly increasing. Gradually, Lin Moyu completed the infiltration of all areas except Wind City, and began to approach Wind City. In the central area of Wind City, where the Wu family resided, two ninth-level elders of the Wu family almost simultaneously sensed something unusual. Wu Wentian, a ninth-level elder of the Wu family, looked at the sky.
My soul is in turmoil. I feel like something bad is going to happen.
Wu Shenwen, also a ninth-level elder of the Wu family, had the same feeling.
I also feel something's not right, but I can't find the source. Is someone trying to deal with the Wu family?
Wu Wentian frowned deeply. He felt something was wrong but couldn't find the source. Wu Shenwen thought for a moment and took out a treasure.
Let me take a look.
The treasure was a small round bowl with half a bowl of clear water. Wu Shenwen dripped a drop of blood into the bowl, and the half bowl of clear water immediately turned bright red. Then half of it quickly turned black. At first, the black blood occupied less than 1/10 of the area, but as time passed, the area of black blood gradually expanded, soon reaching 1/3. Wu Shenwen and Wu Wentian looked at each other.
Something bad is really going to happen.
Wu Wentian's expression had become extremely solemn.
Has our fortune deteriorated to this extent?
The small bowl was a fortune-telling treasure that could check fortune. Red represented positive fortune, while black represented misfortune. Now misfortune had occupied 1/3 and was still slowly expanding, representing that misfortune was about to befall the Wu family. When the time came, it wouldn't just be certain individuals in the Wu family who would suffer misfortune, but the entire Wu family. But through the changes in fortune, they still couldn't find the source of the misfortune. For a moment, both ninth-level elders had a feeling of impending disaster.
Should we wake up the ancestor? I don't think it's necessary. Even if the ancestor wakes up, he might not be able to find the source, and it would be difficult to seal him again.
After spending half a day, Lin Moyu gradually gained control of Wind City's formation. Now from Wind City to Wind One City, and even to the other satellite cities, all the formations were under Lin Moyu's control. This was the terrifying aspect of the way of formations. Those big powers disliked offending formation masters the most. Once they offended a terrifying formation master, they might be trapped by formations silently and unknowingly. It was also possible that a formation carefully arranged by a big power might become a trap that killed themselves. In the history of the Origin continent, similar incidents had occurred many times. There was once a 6-star power that offended a 7th-grade formation master, resulting in that power being wiped out overnight. Moreover, they all died under their own formations. Now, Lin Moyu could also use formations to destroy the entire Wind City. But Lin Moyu didn't do so. The Wu family's formations weren't strong enough to kill the 9th-level elders of the Wu family. With 9th-level elders present, even the casualties among the Wu family members wouldn't be too great. Merely destroying Wind City was meaningless. What Lin Moyu wanted to do was cut off the Wu family's roots. The Wu family needed a large number of origin crystals. These origin crystals were meant for the heaven-seeking seal in Rift Wind Cliff. Now that the heaven-seeking seal was gone, it didn't mean the origin crystals weren't needed anymore. The 3 ancestors had taken its place. This old fox naturally wouldn't let go of this piece of fat meat from the Wu family. In fact, Lin Moyu had already discussed with the 3 ancestors. The Wu family's origin crystals were still needed. The 3 ancestors would pretend that the heaven-seeking seal was still there. As for what Lin Moyu needed to do, it was to cause chaos in the Wu family. They would definitely go to Rift Wind Cliff for help, and the rest would be the 3 ancestors' business. The 2 had already agreed to split the benefits 50-50, which was very fair. Lin Moyu controlled the formation, and with a thought, silently and invisibly, the time on the tokens of everyone in Wind City turned into countless 9s. The same was true for people in Rift Wind Cliff. The time on their tokens also became infinite. People in Wind City discovered this change and cried out in surprise. Infinite time meant they could stay in Wind City indefinitely without needing to pay a single origin crystal. Wind City was one of the important sources of income for the Wu family. If people in Wind City stopped spending money, the Wu family's losses would be enormous. Not only that, but the formation in Wind One City suddenly stopped, and the formation between the 2 cities stopped. Everyone could freely travel to Wind City without obstruction. The Wu family's warships that were originally flying halfway suddenly descended and could no longer move. The entrance formation to Rift Wind Cliff also disappeared at this moment, allowing everyone to enter. Rift Wind Cliff covered a large area. Originally, there was only one entrance through Wind City, but now people could enter from anywhere. At the same time, beams of treasure light shot into the sky. Faintly, new treasures seemed to appear in Rift Wind Cliff again. Lin Moyu looked at the treasure light and smiled.
The 3 ancestors are cooperating very well.
Chapter 3470. Can I eat it? The order of the entire Wind City was completely disrupted. The moment Lin Moyu changed the rules, the Wu family's misfortune rapidly expanded, exceeding half. In this situation, the Wu family was about to start having bad luck. Not just 1 or 2 people, but everyone in the Wu family would have bad luck. As for how exactly they would have bad luck, Lin Moyu couldn't be bothered to care. That wasn't his business. He saw that many people were already heading towards Wind City. There were many treasures in Rift Wind Cliff, and everyone was going to seek treasures. Rift Wind Cliff covered a large area. The Wu family couldn't possibly guard the entire Rift Wind Cliff, nor could they kill all those people. At this time, several powerful auras suddenly rose from Wind City. The Wu family quickly reacted, regardless of anything else, temporarily driving out all the people in Wind City. Wu family cultivators came out in droves to stop others from entering Rift Wind Cliff. Although they couldn't stop everyone, they would stop as many as they could. After all, the Wu family had operated in the Rift Wind Cliff area for many years and had great power. Lin Moyu naturally wouldn't let the Wu family have their way. Otherwise, wouldn't he have worked for nothing? Gusts of wind blew down from the formation, targeting these teams of Wu family cultivators. They hadn't even had time to fly out of Wind City before being attacked by the formation. Many Wu family members were seriously injured. The Wu family elders quickly took action to rescue the Wu family members. The formation didn't attack these elders because the formation's attacks had no effect on them. But relying solely on the Wu family elders, they basically couldn't spare any effort to stop so many people from entering Rift Wind Cliff. They also didn't have the ability to drive everyone out of Wind City. They could kill everyone in Wind City, but trying to drive them out would be quite difficult. Moreover, those in Wind City were all cultivators, including some 7th-level elders, not necessarily from Rift Wind Cliff, but also outsiders. Lin Moyu watched for a while and then stopped paying attention, turning to fly towards the east of Wind One City. The cloud-piercing sword appeared behind him, with Little May sitting on it munching on snacks. She smiled and said,
The Wu family is in trouble now.
Lin Moyu said,
Although the Wu family isn't like the other top powers, they still have some foundation. It won't be chaotic for long. Afterwards, they will definitely go to Rift Wind Cliff to seek help from the Heaven-Seeking Seal. Then we'll see the 3 ancestors' performance.
Little May smiled happily.
The Wu family offended teacher, that's their bad luck.
Lin Moyu shook his head.
The Wu family was too domineering. They were bound to have problems sooner or later. I just gave them a push.
Little May made a cute sound and waved her little fist.
The Wu family was indeed domineering. They should have been dealt with long ago.
A lotus-shaped treasure ship appeared in view. Those with such shaped treasure ships must be from the ancient Lotus Holy Land. Lin Moyu casually said,
I wonder what business the ancient Lotus Holy Land has in inviting me over.
Little May munched on snacks.
Just go and see, right? With teacher's strength, you don't need to fear them at all. The ancient Lotus Holy Land's cuisine is very famous. I heard about it in my previous life, but unfortunately never had the chance to taste it.
Lin Moyu smiled and said,
You were already a 9th-level elder then, yet you never tasted the ancient Lotus Holy Land's cuisine?
Little May shook her head.
All my thoughts were on cultivation then. Anyway, the ancient Lotus Holy Land's cuisine is the best in the entire southern continent, especially their ancient Lotus Immortal Banquet, which is only held once every 10,000 years. It would be great if I could eat it once.
In her previous life, Little May was obsessed with cultivation. In this life, besides cultivation, she was obsessed with food. She was living much better than in her previous life. According to Little May, in her previous life she was alive, but in this life she wanted to live. On the lotus-shaped warship, Wind Lotus Elder stood at the bow. Seeing Lin Moyu, he immediately flew out of the warship to welcome him personally. He was extremely polite to Lin Moyu, but the more polite he was, the more it meant that the matter might be more troublesome.
Young friend Lin, have you finished your business? If not, I'm not in a hurry.
Wind Lotus Elder asked with a smile. Lin Moyu said,
Thank you for waiting, Elder. I've finished.
Wind Lotus Elder said,
In that case, please come aboard, young friend.
Lin Moyu boarded the warship and introduced Little May to Wind Lotus Elder.
This is my disciple, Little May.
Little May also politely bowed to Wind Lotus Elder, calling him
Elder.
Wind Lotus Elder smiled warmly and took out an ancient-looking lotus flower to give to Little May.
This is my welcome gift for you, little girl. Don't think it's too small.
Little May wasn't polite at all and directly accepted it, happily saying,
Thank you, Elder.
Little May looked cute, and Wind Lotus Elder clearly liked her very much. The warship started moving towards the ancient Lotus Holy Land. Wind Lotus Elder asked,
Young friend just came from Wind One City. Do you know about the chaos in Wind City?
Lin Moyu said.
Indeed there was chaos. It seems there was a problem with the formation.
Wind Lotus Elder said.
I saw some from afar. Many people went over, and there was also treasure light shooting into the sky from Rift Wind Cliff. It seems a large number of treasures have appeared again. If that's really the case, the Wu family is in trouble now. It will probably be chaotic for a while.
Lin Moyu made an affirmative sound.
It should be. But with the Wu family's abilities, it won't be chaotic for too long.
Wind Lotus Elder agreed deeply.
Yes, the Wu family has operated in Rift Wind Cliff for many years. Their power is deeply rooted. In all the big and small powers in Rift Wind Cliff, there are Wu family members. Moreover, the Wu family still has their ancestor. Although he has sealed himself, if the Wu family really faces a crisis, he will come out.
Lin Moyu asked.
It seems the Wu family ancestor is still at the Dao Venerable Realm.
If he were at the pseudo-great Dao realm with unlimited lifespan, he wouldn't need to seal himself. Only Dao Venerables need to seal themselves to live longer. Wind Lotus Elder pondered.
Indeed, he is at the Dao Venerable Realm, but he's the strongest among Dao Venerables. It's said he has a treasure that can temporarily elevate his realm to the pseudo-great Dao realm.
Lin Moyu chuckled lightly.
Whether he's strong or not is irrelevant to me. Elder, why don't you tell me why you've invited me to the ancient Lotus Holy Land?
Wind Lotus Elder laughed.
If I said I just wanted to invite young friend Lin as a guest, you naturally wouldn't believe it. Indeed, there is a matter we need help with, but the details will have to wait until we reach the ancient Lotus Holy Land. This matter has troubled us for many years. The ancient Lotus Immortal Banquet, which occurs once every 10,000 years, is approaching. We have divined that we might be able to solve the problem that has troubled us for many years during this immortal banquet. We went to ask the three ancestors and paid a great price for their help. In the end, we got the result that to solve this problem, we need young friend Lin's help. To be honest with young friend Lin, our meeting in Rift Wind Cliff wasn't a coincidence, but inevitable.
Lin Moyu already understood that Wind Lotus Elder came to Rift Wind Cliff specifically to find him. As for how he knew Lin Moyu would be in Rift Wind Cliff, needless to say, it must have been the three ancestors who told him. Lin Moyu said calmly.
It seems the three ancestors received quite a lot of money.
Wind Lotus Elder said.
As long as that matter can be resolved, any price is worth it.
Lin Moyu began to wonder what exactly the matter was that the ancient Lotus Holy Land was so concerned about. Little May asked softly from the side.
Is the ancient Lotus Immortal Banquet really going to be held? Can I eat it?
Chapter 3471. 7-Star Holy Land. They hadn't even reached the ancient Lotus Holy Land yet, let alone seen a glimpse of the immortal banquet. But Little May's mouth was already watering in anticipation. Wind Lotus Elder was amused by Little May.
Of course you can. Once the ancient Lotus Immortal Banquet begins, little girl, you'll certainly be an honored guest.
Little May jumped up happily.
Then I'll eat to my heart's content.
Wind Lotus Elder nodded repeatedly.
All right, you can even take some home.
Before long, Little May and Wind Lotus Elder were on familiar terms, the old and young getting along harmoniously. If outsiders didn't know better, they might think they were grandfather and granddaughter. Lin Moyu didn't say a word, letting Little May speak freely, even if she occasionally spoke without filters. He knew Little May had discretion and wouldn't say anything inappropriate. Moreover, Little May was subtly trying to probe Wind Lotus Elder's intentions. Wind Lotus Elder seemed to like this little girl very much, and he could also see that Lin Moyu doted on this disciple of his. Under Little May's skillful probing, Lin Moyu roughly understood that the problem the ancient Lotus Holy Land wanted his help to solve had troubled them for countless years, but there shouldn't be any danger. To solve this matter, the ancient Lotus Holy Land was willing to pay an enormous price, almost without setting an upper limit. Lin Moyu was also very curious about what kind of matter could make the ancient Lotus Holy Land willing to pay such a price. He checked the information on the ancient Lotus Holy Land and knew it was extremely ancient, the oldest among all the Holy Lands. Its history could be traced back to before the origin catastrophe. When the origin catastrophe occurred, the ancient Lotus Holy Land already existed. It's very likely they even participated in the origin catastrophe. The fact that the ancient Lotus Holy Land could survive the origin catastrophe was enough to prove their powerful strength. Moreover, after the origin catastrophe, the ancient Lotus Holy Land must have been one of the first powers to recover. At that time, there were relics left from the war everywhere. If they had the intention, they must have been able to gain great benefits from them. Based on this reasoning, the foundation of the ancient Lotus Holy Land might have exceeded imagination. So, a problem that the ancient Lotus Holy Land was willing to solve at any cost was very likely a problem left over from the time of the origin catastrophe. Lin Moyu organized his thoughts.
The ancient Lotus Holy Land's problem should be related to the several worlds that came from outside. The army that attacked the southern continent back then came from the Seven-Star Realm, and later the Black Blood Realm was also involved. However, for the problem to remain for so many years, it's obviously not just thorny, but also somewhat strange. That being said, it's very likely related to the Black Water Realm.
Experience after experience had given Lin Moyu some of his own views on the situation of the origin catastrophe back then, and a map had already been woven in his mind. The eastern continent was once invaded by the God Realm, so outer realm gods and their divine pets were left in the eastern continent. The northern continent was invaded by the Blood Rat Realm, behind which was the Black Blood Realm, so there were also remnants of the Black Blood Realm in the northern continent. The southern continent was invaded by the Seven-Star Realm. The Seven-Star Realm should have been subordinate to the God Realm, but they had already joined forces at that time, so it didn't matter whose subordinate they were. Besides these, there was also a Firewood Realm, which currently showed no trace. The Lotus Flower warship was extremely fast, even 3 points faster than the cloud-piercing sword. It took only half a day to fly out of Rift Wind Cliff and enter the Seven-Star Holy Land's territory. As they entered the Seven-Star Holy Land, the Sun and Moon origins had just completed their alternation. The Moon origin hung high in the sky, its gentle origin power spreading across the origin continent. The Moon rune on Lin Moyu's brow flashed brightly. He stood at the bow of the ship, facing the wind, looking ethereal like an immortal descending to the mortal world, making it impossible for people to look directly at him. Lin Moyu looked at the sky. Above the night sky, 7 stars shone brightly, each star trailing a thin, long tail behind it. Wind Lotus Elder smiled and said,
"So the Moon's child that appeared a few years ago was Mr. Lin."
Lin Moyu joked.
"Does Elder want to consider capturing me and taking me back?"
Wind Lotus Elder laughed heartily.
"No need to capture, no need to capture. Isn't Mr. Lin already coming back with this old man?"
Lin Moyu said.
"But the nature is different."
Wind Lotus Elder smiled and said,
"Anyway, as long as you're coming back, it's fine. When the Moon's child was born back then, we didn't send anyone out."
Lin Moyu understood that Wind Lotus Elder was telling him that they had no ill intentions towards the Moon's child. The Moon's child held no attraction for them either. This was a kind of pride and also confidence. The ancient Lotus Holy Land had confidence in themselves. Whatever Moon's child, they didn't care about it at all. Lin Moyu looked at the sky and said calmly,
"The 7 hanging stars in the 7-Star Holy Land are quite interesting."
Wind Lotus Elder looked at the sky with Lin Moyu.
"Indeed, they are quite interesting. It's said that those stars are related to that catastrophe back then."
Lin Moyu's eyes narrowed slightly, becoming sharp.
"Is it related to the 7-Star Realm?"
Wind Lotus Elder turned his head to look at Lin Moyu, his eyes showing a bit of surprise. Clearly, he was surprised that Lin Moyu knew about the 7-Star Realm. Matters related to the 7-Star Realm were not something everyone could know. Even top powers like the Wu family didn't know about the 7-Star Realm. Among the top powers, not many knew about the 7-Star Realm. This was the difference in foundation. Wind Lotus Elder said,
"Since Mr. Lin knows about the 7-Star Realm, it's simple to explain. Back then, when the seven-star realm invaded our southern continent, they entered from here. They broke through the barrier between heaven and earth to enter the southern continent. These 7 things that look like stars are actually 7 scars left behind back then. The name of the 7-star Holy Land comes from these 7 scars. In fact, they have no relation to the 7-star realm. The 7-star Holy Land first appeared 90,000 years after the end of the origin catastrophe. The ancestor of the 7-star Holy Land back then discovered a great Tao realm being who had died in the origin catastrophe, obtained their inheritance, and thus created the 7-star Holy Land.
Wind Lotus Elder knew the early history of the 7-star Holy Land like the back of his hand, explaining it very clearly. This also showed how profound the foundation of the ancient Lotus Holy Land was. Lin Moyu asked,
So, does this mean there's no great Tao realm being behind the 7-star Holy Land?
Wind Lotus Elder shook his head.
No, they have great Tao realm beings, and more than one. The inheritance they obtained is backed by a power in the outer great Tao. The 7-star Holy Land can be seen as their Tao lineage inheritance in the origin continent.
His tone gradually became serious.
Don't underestimate the 7-star Holy Land. Their ambitions are not small.
For Wind Lotus Elder to say their ambitions were not small, it must not be a small matter, and it was very likely to concern the entire southern continent, or even the entire origin continent. Lin Moyu casually asked,
Do you know what it is?
Wind Lotus Elder shook his head slightly.
It's not clear. Using these 7 scars, the 7-star Holy Land has a way to contact those beings in the outer great Tao. They should be acting under their instructions.
Lin Moyu had a thought. He guessed that what the 7-star Holy Land was doing might be related to the great changes in heaven and earth.
Could it be that those troublemakers in the outer great Tao also want to have a hand in the great changes of heaven and earth? The 3 ancestors and the Beast Emperor have stayed in the origin continent for so many years for the sake of the great changes in heaven and earth. That old bastard also wants me to take the lead in the great changes in heaven and earth. What exactly is in the great changes in heaven and earth? However, if the 7-star Holy Land wants to cause trouble, it's probably too late. If they really dare to do anything out of line, the 3 ancestors will finish them off.
Chapter 3472. The Ancient Land. Many things can only be truly understood when they actually occur, revealing their real roots. Currently, all speculations are just that, speculations. Sometimes thinking too much can bring more troubles. Lin Moyu set aside his thoughts. He felt that the path should be taken step by step, seeing what happens with each step. As long as one's own strength is sufficient, any situation can be faced calmly. As the sun origin appeared, its bright light obscured the 7 hanging stars, temporarily hiding the scars left on the origin continent from people's view. The warship crossed the 7-star Holy Land and entered the territory of the ancient Lotus Holy Land. The ancient Lotus Holy Land's territory wasn't large, even smaller than the 7-star Holy Land and the 10,000 Scenes Holy Land, and not in the central area of the southern continent. However, everywhere in the ancient Lotus Holy Land exuded an ancient and profound aura. Origin spirit veins intertwined here, emitting powerful origin force. Lin Moyu noticed that in the ancient Lotus Holy Land's area, there was more than one top-tier origin spirit vein. Just this foundation alone was incomparable to other top powers. Wind Lotus Elder said,
Mr. Lin must have already noticed that our place is somewhat different from others.
Lin Moyu gazed at the land.
This is a very ancient land. It's very peaceful here. It seems there hasn't been any disturbance for many years.
Wind Lotus Elder sighed somewhat.
Among all the holy lands in the southern continent, our ancient Lotus Holy Land has the longest history of existence. But precisely because it's too ancient, many people aren't accustomed to this place. Over these many years, many people have come and gone. Some settled here, made homes, and built powers, while many others left. Perhaps they couldn't get used to the tranquility here and yearned for a more turbulent world.
As Lin Moyu listened to Wind Lotus Elder's reflections, a thin mist appeared in his eyes, and the ancient Lotus Holy Land suddenly changed appearance before him. Streams of fortune, transformed into long dragons, coiled on this ancient land. These fortune dragons intertwined, like a magnificent painting. Mountains, rivers, lakes, and seas formed under the fortune dragons, nurturing countless living beings. The ancientness of this land wasn't just because it hadn't been affected by war, but more because its terrain hadn't changed for countless years. Numerous origin spirit veins converged here. Just from what Lin Moyu could see, there were 3 8th grade origin spirit veins, as well as several 7th and 6th grade origin spirit veins. These origin spirit veins firmly stabilized the terrain, making this land a true paradise holy land. Among the fortune dragons, there were also various unique fortunes rising. These were the fortunes formed by various powers, weaker than the ancient Lotus Holy Land's fortune, and existing dependent on the ancient Lotus Holy Land's fortune. Gradually, Lin Moyu saw the clues and understood what Wind Lotus Elder meant about why some people wouldn't get used to this place. Seeing Lin Moyu's expression, Wind Lotus Elder asked,
"Has Mr. Lin seen something?"
Lin Moyu said,
"The ancient Lotus Holy Land's work is truly grand. A formation spanning several million miles is rare."
Wind Lotus Elder was slightly surprised, then smiled and said,
"Mr. Lin indeed has good eyesight."
The ancient Lotus Holy Land was actually a huge formation. All the settlement points of the powers inside were at the formation eye positions. Obviously, these places were all chosen by the ancient Lotus Holy Land. One couldn't just live wherever they wanted. Others became formation eyes, while the ancient Lotus Holy Land controlled the entire formation. Therefore, on this ancient land, there would be no conflicts. Each power was far apart from others. Even if there were conflicts, winning wouldn't matter because the opponent's territory couldn't become yours. Without the drive of benefits, conflicts naturally wouldn't exist. Some people with ambitions couldn't stand such an environment, so they left. Lin Moyu smiled and said,
"Your holy land has turned this place into a paradise outside the mundane world. It's indeed very good. But there's one thing Lin doesn't understand."
Wind Lotus Elder said,
"What doesn't Mr. Lin understand?"
Lin Moyu said,
3 8th grade origin spirit veins, and several 6th and 7th grade origin spirit veins all converge their power towards one direction. If your holy land isn't trying to cultivate a 9th grade origin spirit vein, then you must be suppressing something. I wonder if this is related to the problem your holy land is facing."
At this, Wind Lotus Elder was completely shocked. They had just entered the ancient Lotus Holy Land not long ago. Yet Lin Moyu could see so much. These things, let alone an outsider like Lin Moyu, even people in their holy land wouldn't know before becoming 7th level elders. Amidst his shock, Wind Lotus Elder actually felt hope. He thought that perhaps the problem that had troubled them for countless years might have a solution. Wind Lotus Elder suddenly bowed to Lin Moyu.
"Mr. Lin's insight is truly sharp. Indeed, it's related to the problem in our holy land. The specifics will be explained truthfully when Mr. Lin arrives."
Lin Moyu nodded with a smile, not asking further. He continued to look at this ancient land, observing the fortune through the fortune Great Tao. Following the flow of fortune, the ancient Lotus Holy Land's grand formation gradually appeared before his eyes. This formation was equally ancient, using origin spirit veins to set up the formation. Just in terms of scale, it was comparable to the formation set up by Withering and Flourishing Elder. But in terms of level, it was more advanced than Withering and Flourishing Elder's formation. These origin spirit veins intertwined, actually forming divine runes. Lin Moyu looked very carefully and confirmed that they were indeed divine runes. Although the divine runes formed by origin spirit veins weren't perfect, with quite a few small problems, these problems didn't have much impact. The advantages of the origin spirit veins themselves were enough to make up for it. Lin Moyu felt that once this formation was activated, even a 9th level Dao Venerable would be trapped and killed within it. Moreover, with the origin spirit veins intertwining, if one couldn't destroy the origin spirit veins, it would be impossible to break this formation. From this, it could be seen that the person who set up this formation was a powerful formation master from prehistoric times. At least their formation skills were above Gu Hanyu's. Lin Moyu's eyes flickered.
If I could get their formation materials, it should be quite helpful to me.
He had already made up his mind. If he could help the ancient Lotus Holy Land solve their problem this time, perhaps he could ask for some formation materials. The ancient Lotus Holy Land had existed since before the origin catastrophe. Surely they must have corresponding materials. After flying for half a day, the warship finally arrived at the main gate of the ancient Lotus Holy Land when the moon origin appeared again. 36 lakes, carried by the earth, flew in mid-air, forming the shape of a lotus flower. Wind Lotus Elder introduced.
This is the Lotus Lake of the ancient Lotus Holy Land. The Lotus Lake has 4 layers, inner and outer, composed of 6, 8, 10, and 12 formations combined, surrounding the central Lotus Core Sacred Hall.
The warship flew towards the central Lotus Core Sacred Hall. The formation protecting the Lotus Lake opened layer by layer. Countless lotus flowers were planted in the lake, of various species and myriad colors. Waves of fragrance entered the nose. Little May couldn't help but exclaim,
It smells so good.
At this moment, Wind Lotus Elder waved his hand, and a pink lotus flower automatically flew up into his hand. He gave the lotus flower to Little May.
Not only does it smell good, it's also very delicious.
Chapter 3473. Finally, we've been waiting for you. Little May first sniffed the lotus flower, then without any hesitation, plucked off a petal and put it in her mouth. A sweet taste exploded in her mouth, and Little May squinted her eyes.
It's so sweet.
Wind Lotus Elder chuckled.
These lotus flowers are not only beautiful but also one of our foods. At the same time, they are also necessary for our cultivation.
Most of the techniques and secret arts of the ancient Lotus Holy Land were related to lotus flowers. There were many types of lotus flowers here, some ordinary and many at the level of heavenly and earthly treasures. Some could be used for refining equipment and medicines. As they approached the Lotus Core Sacred Hall, the fragrance of flowers became stronger, and within the dense floral scent was a rich aura of origin essence. Numerous origin spirit veins converged here, turning the entire Lotus Lake into a sacred cultivation ground. Wind Lotus Elder's warship stopped on a lotus petal near the Lotus Core Sacred Hall. Wind Lotus Elder put away the warship and gestured with his hand.
Mr. Lin, this way.
Lin Moyu nodded and followed Wind Lotus Elder onto the petal. The petal automatically flew up, carrying the 3 of them towards the Lotus Core Sacred Hall. The Lotus Core Sacred Hall was also shaped like a flower stamen, pure white all over, exuding a sacred aura. Along the way, they encountered several disciples of the ancient Lotus Holy Land. They all bowed and greeted Wind Lotus Elder, while also showing great curiosity towards Lin Moyu and Little May, giving them looks of attention. Obviously, not many people came here usually, otherwise they wouldn't react like this. Wind Lotus Elder explained,
Please don't mind, Mr. Lin. Not many people come here usually.
Lin Moyu smiled and said,
There shouldn't be many visitors in a holy land. It's the same in other holy lands.
The petal flew into the sacred hall. Inside the hall, the fragrance turned into mist, obscuring the view of the interior. Wind Lotus Elder called out loudly,
Holy Lord, Mr. Lin has arrived.
The voice traveled into the mist, and then the fragrance became stronger while the mist dissipated, revealing the situation inside the sacred hall. These changes, in Lin Moyu's eyes, were actually just illusions controlled by a low-level formation. After all, it was a holy land, so they had to show off a bit. Lin Moyu could understand. In the sacred hall, at the main seat, which should be the Holy Lord's position, a young woman in a pink and white robe had already stood up and walked over. She had a beautiful appearance with a hint of aloofness, like a pure white lotus flower. Lin Moyu noticed that her temperament was somewhat similar to the immortal Lotus Holy Maiden. Lin Moyu knew she was the current ancient Lotus Holy Lord. In the ancient Lotus Holy Land, anyone who became the Holy Lord was called the ancient Lotus Holy Lord, temporarily not using their previous surname and given name. just like their holy maiden, who was uniformly called the Immortal Lotus Holy Maiden. As for what they were called before, it wasn't important. This was their rule. Names were just codes to them. Although it seemed fine, Lin Moyu could feel that this was to make all disciples of the ancient Lotus Holy Land consider it their home, themselves just a part of it, rather than individuals. All power had to be twisted together, not dispersed. The ancient Lotus Holy Lord walked up to Lin Moyu and slowly bowed.
Greetings, Mr. Lin.
Her posture was very humble, coming over to greet him personally, without any airs of a holy lord. Lin Moyu knew that she must have received the news sent back by Wind Lotus Elder early on and wasn't surprised at all by his arrival. Lin Moyu also smiled and returned the bow.
Lin Moyu greets the Holy Lord. Mr. Lin's journey must have been tiring. I've already had people prepare a banquet.
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord chuckled lightly, a smile appearing on her beautiful face, like a celestial lotus blooming, indescribably beautiful. Lin Moyu smiled and said,
Is the Holy Lord not in a hurry?
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord said,
We are in a hurry, but it's not so urgent that we can't spare this moment. We want to inform Mr. Lin of the details of the matter. Why don't we talk while we eat?
Lin Moyu said,
That's fine. I also want to try the delicacies of the ancient Lotus Holy Land.
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord immediately led the way, walking out of the Lotus Core Sacred Hall. The ancient Lotus Holy Lord's cultivation level was very high. Lin Moyu found that she was different from the Holy Lords and sect masters of other top powers. In other top powers, most Holy Lords were at the 6th level of Tao Venerable, essentially managers of their respective powers. Those 7th level and above elders were basically focused on cultivation, only coming out when there were important matters. Without major events, they wouldn't appear. But the ancient Lotus Holy Lord was far beyond the 6th level of Tao Venerable, even beyond the 7th level. When facing Wind Lotus Elder, she treated him as an equal, and Wind Lotus Elder's tone even carried a hint of respect. The ancient Lotus Holy Land, which had existed since prehistoric times, was indeed very different from current powers. The ancient Lotus Holy Lord summoned a lotus flower, leading everyone to fly towards the sky. In the ancient Lotus Holy Land, numerous lotus flowers floated in the sky. These lotus flowers varied greatly in size, with the largest having a diameter of several hundred meters and the smallest only 10 meters. On many lotus flowers, there were disciples of the Holy Land, either cultivating or drinking tea and discussing the Tao, looking very comfortable. They arrived at the highest and largest lotus flower, with more than a dozen slightly smaller lotus flowers arranged in a circle like meditation cushions. In the center, a lotus-shaped large table was filled with various exquisite foods.
It's so beautiful.
Little May exclaimed. Regardless of taste, just in terms of appearance, it was the most exquisite food she had ever seen. Wind Lotus Elder smiled and said,
Not only beautiful, but also delicious.
Little May nodded vigorously.
Of course. It looks delicious.
On the lotus flower, several people were already waiting there. Lin Moyu saw an old acquaintance, the Immortal Lotus Holy Maiden. The Immortal Lotus Holy Maiden was obviously stunned for a moment when she saw Lin Moyu. After they landed, the Lotus Holy Lord waved her jade hand.
Mr. Lin, please be seated.
Then she beckoned to the Immortal Lotus Holy Maiden.
Immortal Lotus, come sit with Mr. Lin. You are old acquaintances after all.
The Immortal Lotus Holy Maiden immediately walked over quickly.
Fellow Taoist Lin, long time no see.
Lin Moyu smiled slightly.
Long time no see indeed. Immortal Lotus Holy Maiden's cultivation has greatly improved. Congratulations.
The Immortal Lotus Holy Maiden shook her head.
Fellow Taoist Lin is the impressive one. I can't even see through your cultivation level now.
The Immortal Lotus Holy Maiden's cultivation had now reached the 3rd level of Tao Venerable. After returning from the Genius competition, she had risen another level, but compared to Lin Moyu, the difference was quite large. After the two sat down, the Immortal Lotus Holy Maiden sighed lightly.
I heard the Holy Lord and others say they were going to find Mr. Lin. I didn't expect Mr. Lin to be you.
Lin Moyu smiled and said,
How about it? Are you surprised or disappointed?
The immortal Lotus Holy Maiden shook her head.
Neither surprised nor disappointed, just somewhat in awe. Mr. Lin is indeed different from others, beyond our comparison.
Lin Moyu smiled.
What's so different? I just had a bit more luck, went back and forth at death's door a few more times, and then didn't walk in.
The immortal Lotus Holy Maiden knew that Lin Moyu must have encountered many dangers.
Although we are safe here, we also miss out on some thrills.
Lin Moyu said,
Actually, this is not bad. Some people are destined not to experience those things.
He saw that the immortal Lotus Holy Maiden's fortune was extremely prosperous. Her cultivation path must be smooth sailing. In the future, reaching the 9th level of Tao Venerable would be no problem, and even going a step further wasn't impossible. At this moment, a flame lit up in the sky, and Fire Lotus Elder arrived impetuously on the lotus flower, coming to Lin Moyu's side.
Young friend Lin, we've finally been waiting for you to come.
3474, 3474. Chapter 3474. Take whatever you like. Fire Lotus Elder was as enthusiastic as fire, completely different from Wind Lotus Elder. Lin Moyu chatted with Fire Lotus Elder for a few sentences before Fire Lotus Elder was called away. Soon, one elder after another arrived. Lin Moyu saw part of the ancient Lotus Holy Land's foundation. Just the 9th level Tao Venerable Elders alone numbered 6. This was only on the surface. Underground, there must be even more 9th level elders. A few more wouldn't be surprising. Not to mention 9th level elders, if 1 or 2 pseudo-great Tao realm beings walked out of the ancient Lotus Holy Land now, Lin Moyu would find it quite normal. After all, as a top power that survived the origin catastrophe, their foundation must be incredibly strong. Perhaps they could even keep great Tao realm beings here. What the 3 ancestors and Beast Emperor could do, the ancient Lotus Holy Land might not be incapable of. After everyone arrived, the banquet began. One dish after another automatically flew up from the central table, coming to circle in front of each person, slowly rotating. People could take whatever they wanted to eat. When dishes were emptied, new food would be replenished. Little May was delighted. She squinted her eyes as she took food, finding everything delicious and stuffing her mouth. Little May didn't care about her image at all. She had said that in this life she wanted to live freely. This was Little May's Tao heart, so Lin Moyu naturally wouldn't interfere. Lin Moyu didn't speak. Those elders of the ancient Lotus Holy Land who still needed Lin Moyu's help, even if they disapproved, wouldn't say anything. After 3 rounds of drinks, the ancient Lotus Holy Lord finally spoke.
Mr. Lin, the reason we invited you here is that we have a matter that has troubled us for many years and need your help.
Lin Moyu said.
Elder Wind Lotus mentioned this earlier. Before discussing the matter, Lin has a question. How did all the elders know that Lin would be able to solve this matter?
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord said.
To be honest with Mr. Lin, we have a treasure in our holy land that can inquire about causes and ask about effects. We use this treasure once every 100 years to see if an opportunity has appeared. Until half a year ago, when we used the treasure again, it showed that someone who could solve our problem had appeared. The treasure couldn't point out exactly who this person was, only giving a vague direction. So we went to ask the 3 ancestors. After the 3 ancestors' guidance, we learned that this person was Mr. Lin.
Hearing this explanation, Lin Moyu understood. A treasure that could inquire about causes and ask about effects was naturally a cause and effect type treasure. The effects of such treasures were extremely mysterious and hard to fathom. It was reasonable for it to have such an effect. Lin Moyu smiled and said,
To get some information from the 3 ancestors, I imagine the price wasn't small, right?
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord said.
It was all right. Although the 3 ancestors' price wasn't cheap, they didn't ask for an exorbitant amount.
Whether it was exorbitant or not, only they themselves knew. However, with the ancient Lotus Holy Land's foundation, this small price shouldn't be a problem. Lin Moyu said.
Since the three ancestors said Lin can do it, Lin will certainly try his best. But Lin also has a small request. If Lin succeeds, could the Holy Land lend Lin Moyu your formation materials to read?
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord was slightly stunned.
Could Mr. Lin be more specific?
Lin Moyu said,
When I first entered the ancient Lotus Holy Land, I saw an ancient divine rune formation. Lin is very interested in this formation, so I'd like to borrow the formation materials to read.
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord sighed.
If it were any other request, Ancient Lotus could decide. But from Mr. Lin's request, Ancient Lotus cannot make the decision.
It wasn't that they were unwilling, but that they couldn't make the decision. The ancient Lotus Holy Lord continued,
The person who can make this decision is precisely the one we want Mr. Lin to help. If he agrees, we naturally have no objections. If he doesn't agree, we can't do anything about it.
She pondered for a few seconds before speaking again.
How about this? If he doesn't agree to Mr. Lin's request, Ancient Lotus will open our treasure vault for Mr. Lin to choose treasures freely. In the treasure vault, there are 9th level Tao Venerable treasures, 7th grade Origin Spirit veins, and some other things.
Indeed, their foundation was profound. They even had 7th grade Origin Spirit veins. Lin Moyu thought for a moment and said,
That's fine. How about this? Lin doesn't want 9th level treasures or 7th grade Origin Spirit veins. For other slightly inferior items, if Lin likes them, can I choose a few more?
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord immediately said,
No problem. Mr. Lin, as long as you like it, feel free to take it.
She spoke very generously. The more generous she was, the more it showed how difficult this matter was. With the conditions agreed upon, it was time for the main business. Lin Moyu said,
Then please tell me what the matter is. The more detailed, the better. Lin will see if there's a way.
Since the cause and effect treasure pointed to himself, he must be able to solve it. The possibility of the cause and effect Great Tao being wrong was small. The ancient Lotus Holy Lord lightly tapped her finger, and the sky burst with colorful light, opening a huge hole in the sky. Countless colorful lights fell from all directions like waterfalls. An extremely dense origin essence poured down from the opening. The colorful light enveloped the entire lotus flower, separating this lotus flower from the outside world into 2 worlds. Lin Moyu muttered to himself,
So the power gathered from the Origin Spirit veins all came here.
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord said,
Mr. Lin is correct. 3 8th grade Origin Spirit veins, 6 7th grade Origin Spirit veins, 12 6th grade Origin Spirit veins, most of their origin essence is gathered here.
Lin Moyu said,
Your 9th grade Origin Spirit veins seems to have already formed.
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord sighed.
It's not that it has formed. It has always existed, but something unexpected happened.
Lin Moyu slowly said,
If it's because of the 9th grade Origin Spirit vein, then Lin might not be able to help.
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord said,
It's not the 9th grade Origin Spirit vein. Mr. Lin, please take a look first.
Amidst the myriad colors, a lotus flower slowly descended. On the lotus flower was a woman entirely emanating divine light. The woman was stunningly beautiful. At first glance, Lin Moyu immediately thought of Lin Mohan. Her beauty was no less than Lin Mohan's. She was surrounded by divine light. The divine light seemed to have substance, actually a miniaturized origin spirit vein, and not just any origin spirit vein, but one that had surpassed the 8th grade and reached the 9th grade. Lin Moyu looked for a few moments, his heart skipping a beat, and he blurted out,
Great Tao Realm!
Unexpectedly, there really was a Great Tao realm being in the ancient Lotus Holy Land. However, this Great Tao realm powerhouse seemed to be in an unusual situation in a state of unconsciousness. When the ancient Lotus Holy Lord heard Lin Moyu say,
Great Tao Realm,
her eyes lit up. Not just her, but the other elders also looked over at the same time. The ancient Lotus Holy Lord said,
This is the ancestor of our ancient Lotus Holy Land. During the origin catastrophe, to protect the Holy Land, the ancestor voluntarily fused with the 9th grade origin spirit vein to block the attack from the 7-star realm, but the ancestor was also injured in the process. Unexpectedly, someone from the Black Blood realm took the opportunity to launch a sneak attack, wounding the ancestor. Fortunately, someone from the Outer Great Tao came and killed the Black Blood realm powerhouse. We thought that was the end of it, but we didn't expect that the person from the Black Blood realm hadn't died. Instead, they took advantage of the ancestor's slumber to fuse into the origin spirit vein. Luckily, the ancestor woke up in time and battled them within the origin spirit vein. It's precisely because of this that the ancestor has remained in a deep slumber. We want to ask Mr. Lin to wake up the ancestor.
After listening to the ancient Lotus Holy Lord's description, Lin Moyu calmly asked,
Do you know why the ancient Lotus ancestor can't wake up?
Chapter 3475, A Thorny Problem. Just from hearing the description and seeing the sleeping state of the ancient Lotus ancestor, not much could be discerned. However, Lin Moyu hadn't looked carefully yet. He wanted to listen first, believing that the ancient Lotus Holy Lord surely had more to say. The ancient Lotus ancestor had been sleeping since the origin catastrophe until now. The people in the ancient Lotus Holy Land must have researched this countless times. There were quite a few 9th-level Tao venerables in the Holy Land. How could they not have discovered anything? Rather than guessing himself, it was better to hear their opinions first, then make his own judgment. This would not only be easier, but also more accurate. The ancient Lotus Holy Lord said,
At first, we didn't know why the ancestor couldn't wake up. Later, after continuous exploration and research, we finally discovered some clues. The ancestor's soul seems to have left the physical body, whereabouts unknown. We tried to enter the ancestor's body to explore the soul world, but we weren't successful. A great Tao realm physical body isn't something we can investigate.
Lin Moyu said,
Haven't you tried in the soul void?
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord said,
We've tried no less than 10,000 times, but couldn't find anything.
Having searched 10,000 times without success, Lin Moyu knew he didn't need to waste effort going to the soul void. If these 9th-level Tao venerables couldn't find it, he certainly couldn't either. The soul void and the real world have a very peculiar corresponding relationship. As long as the distance is close enough in the real world, they would also be relatively close in the soul void. They could go to the soul void right next to their ancestor to search. If they couldn't find it once or twice, it might be a matter of luck. But if they couldn't find it after 10,000 times, it definitely wasn't a luck issue, but that the soul wasn't there. Lin Moyu continued to ask,
For a great Tao realm being, lifespan is unlimited. Even if the soul is annihilated, the physical body can remain undecayed forever. How are you certain that the ancient Lotus ancestor is still alive?
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord said,
Because the ancestor's lifebound celestial lotus is still alive.
Lin Moyu remembered that the ancient Lotus Holy Land had a secret technique that could transform a strand of one soul into a life-bound celestial lotus. The life-bound celestial lotus could continuously absorb origin essence from heaven and earth, including origin spirit veins and the 2 great origins of the sun and moon. The absorbed origin essence could be accumulated and purified. When the main body sat on the life-bound celestial lotus to cultivate, these constantly absorbed origin essences could be transformed into cultivation power, accelerating the main body's cultivation speed. This kind of life-bound celestial lotus had the highest compatibility with oneself, equivalent to having an avatar constantly cultivating, then giving everything gained from cultivation to oneself. Now that the ancient lotus ancestor's life-bound celestial lotus was still alive, it meant the ancient lotus ancestor wasn't dead. The ancient Lotus Holy Lord asked,
Mr. Lin, have you thought of any method?
Lin Moyu said,
To wake up the ancient Lotus ancestor, the most important thing is to find her soul. I assume all the elders think the same, and the key is how to find her soul. Let me take a look and see if I can find any clues.
Mist appeared in Lin Moyu's eyes as he used the fortune Great Tao, and he saw the ancient Lotus ancestor's fortune. The ancient Lotus ancestor's fortune still existed, from which it could also be judged that she was still alive. Her fortune rose and then dissipated in the air, not flying towards the distance. Originally, there should have been fortune connecting the physical body and the soul. If the fortune between the two was broken, there were only two possibilities. Lin Moyu thought to himself,
The connection between the soul and the physical body has been broken. Either the distance is too far, or the soul is trapped somewhere.
Then Lin Moyu used the undead eye and saw exactly what he had thought. There was no soul inside the ancient lotus ancestor. Without a soul, even if they went to the soul void right next to her, they wouldn't be able to find anything. Lin Moyu pondered.
The soul isn't in the body, but it hasn't been destroyed. It should be trapped somewhere, or lost in the soul void.
Now he could determine that the ancient lotus ancestor's soul wasn't dead, but he didn't know exactly where it was. If it was trapped somewhere, that might not be too bad. If it was lost in the soul void, that would be troublesome. Once lost, for those below the Great Tao realm, the soul would become confused after a long time, eventually turning into a walking corpse. For a Great Tao realm being, they wouldn't become confused, but finding a way back would be almost impossible. Lin Moyu said,
Where is the ancient lotus ancestor's life-bound celestial lotus? Can I take a look?
The ancient lotus holy lord nodded.
Of course.
She pointed her finger, and a celestial lotus automatically flew out. Since they had invited Lin Moyu to help, they naturally had to trust him completely. Lin Moyu looked at the life-bound celestial lotus with his undead eye and found that there was an extremely weak soul flame inside. This soul flame had a faint connection with the main body in the unseen realm. If the main body died, the life-bound celestial lotus would be destroyed along with it. However, this connection was one way. If the life-bound celestial lotus was destroyed, the main body wouldn't be affected. Similarly, trying to find the main body through the life-bound celestial lotus would be equally difficult. Lin Moyu looked at the life-bound celestial lotus through the fortune Great Tao but didn't discover anything. His expression gradually became solemn. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. He had encountered various thorny issues before, but the biggest problem was always how to kill the opponent. But now there was no opponent. Instead, he had to find a missing soul. In the vast world, finding a lost soul was no different from finding a needle in a haystack. Lin Moyu was a bit troubled for a moment. He looked at the ancient lotus holy lord.
Have you tried the cause and effect treasure?
The ancient lotus holy lord said.
We've tried that too, but the cause and effect treasure couldn't find the ancestor's soul.
Cause and effect treasures also have strong and weak ones. Obviously, the one in the ancient lotus holy land wasn't strong enough. A sufficiently powerful cause and effect treasure could even reverse cause and effect, achieving many impossible things. Lin Moyu thought for a moment.
I have a method we can try, but we need to wait a few more days.
When the ancient lotus holy lord heard that Lin Moyu had a method to try, she immediately smiled.
That's fine. We've waited so many years, what's a few more days?
At this time, Fire Lotus Elder asked,
Mr. Lin, how confident are you?
Lin Moyu spoke honestly.
I'm not confident. To be frank, this is the first time Lin has encountered such a problem. I can only say I'll try my best. If it doesn't work, I hope the elders won't blame Lin.
Fire Lotus Elder immediately said,
Of course we won't blame Mr. Lin.
Lin Moyu said,
For the sake of the divine rune formation, Lin will do his best.
Days passed one by one, and this banquet continued. Because the ancient lotus ancestors' matter hadn't been resolved, there wasn't much conversation among the crowd. Little May would eat until full, then cultivate, and after cultivating, she would continue eating non-stop. Lin Moyu drank lotus flower clear tea, slowly savoring the delicacies. Although it wasn't yet the ancient lotus immortal banquet, the food at this feast was already of the highest quality. Over the past few days, he had also chatted a bit with the immortal lotus holy maiden, but most of the time they were both silent. The immortal lotus holy maiden wasn't talkative. It was clear she didn't talk much usually. In the blink of an eye, 7 days passed. Lin Moyu took a deep breath.
Everyone, Lin is ready. Let's try now.
Hearing Lin Moyu's words, all the elders looked over. each with a rather solemn expression. With a thought, the Destiny Lich appeared beside him. He had waited these 7 days just for the Destiny Lich's technique to cool down. Chapter 3476. The Soul World of a Great Tao Realm Being. The small and cute Destiny Lich appeared on Lin Moyu's shoulder, looking around curiously, appearing extremely adorable. However, it also gave off an eerie feeling. The Destiny Lich's body was in a semi-transparent state. When it turned its head, its body didn't move, and the head could rotate a full 360 degrees, as if it had no neck. At the same time, the Destiny Lich emitted cheerful laughter, which sounded chilling to others' ears. It wasn't a pet, but a lich, a killing tool. Lin Moyu had a thought, and the Destiny Lich automatically flew out, coming before the ancient Lotus ancestor, then activating its technique. Destiny Secrets. Search for opportunities through the Destiny Great Tao can be activated once every 10 days. The future is constantly changing. Opportunities might also be misfortunes. The power of the Destiny Great Tao descended upon the ancient Lotus ancestor. This power was noble and mysterious, inspiring reverence in everyone. These 9th-level elders all sensed the Destiny Great Tao. They might not recognize it, but they knew it was an illusory-type power. Being able to master illusory-type power showed how extraordinary this little creature was. Destiny Secrets was ineffective on Lin Moyu, but it immediately took effect on the ancient Lotus ancestor. A faint light emitted from the ancient Lotus ancestor's body, and within the light appeared a projection. The projection showed a hazy void, pitch black without a trace of light. Lin Moyu frowned.
Indeed, in the soul void.
The elders also recognized it and exclaimed in low voices.
It's the soul void. It should be. Could it be that the ancestor's soul is lost in the soul void? Don't speak, be quiet.
After their exclamations, they all fell silent. At this moment, Lin Moyu slowly floated up, coming to sit cross-legged beside the ancient Lotus ancestor.
Elders, Lin will go to the soul void.
The ancient Lotus Holy Lord immediately said,
Mr. Lin, please be very careful. We await your good news.
Lin Moyu nodded, closed his eyes, and his consciousness sank into the soul world. The void outside the soul world was silent without a sound. This was a terrifying world, but also one that many great Tao realm beings had to visit. Here they fought, hunted, improved themselves, or were hunted and perished. The cruelty of the soul void could only be truly experienced by great Tao realm beings. Lin Moyu had been to the soul void many times. He was full of awe for it and was always extremely cautious each time he came. The soul void was too dangerous. Lin Moyu wasn't even sure if his talent would still work here, or if he could revive after dying. Perhaps here he only had one life. How could he not be careful? This time he came here just to try, and he absolutely wouldn't force himself. Everything had to be based on preserving his own life. The Destiny Lich's technique had taken effect. Lin Moyu believed the ancient Lotus ancestor must have felt it. While Destiny Guidance was telling everyone that the ancient Lotus ancestor's soul was in the soul void, it was also pointing out a correct path for the ancient Lotus ancestor. Currently, the most important opportunity for the ancient Lotus ancestor was to return to her own physical body. Nothing was more important than this. The Destiny Lich's guidance would definitely become her lifeline. At the same time, Lin Moyu also entered the soul void along the power of the Destiny Great Tao, taking the first step to meet her. The Destiny Secrets technique clearly stated that the opportunity obtained from guidance could also be a misfortune. From another perspective, this meant that the ancient Lotus ancestor might encounter some events on her way back. Perhaps she had been safe in the soul void for countless years, but problems might appear on her way back. This was also why Lin Moyu came. He wanted to wear down these potential misfortunes as much as possible. Lin Moyu left his own soul world, holding the Catastrophe Scepter, with the Destiny Lich accompanying him on his brow. As the caster of the technique, the Destiny Lich had a certain sense of its own technique. The Destiny Lich guided the direction, so Lin Moyu was no longer like a headless fly and could accurately find his target. Lin Moyu knew that he was now very close to the ancient Lotus ancestor, and their soul worlds shouldn't be too far apart. But those ancient Lotus Holy Land Elders had also searched using this method and found nothing, indicating that the location of the ancient Lotus ancestor's soul world had been changed. As for whether it was changed by someone else or by the ancient Lotus ancestor herself, it was hard to say. Both were possible. Sometimes, for the safety of one's soul world, deliberately changing its location was common. Lin Moyu had done this before. The Destiny Lich guided the direction, and Lin Moyu moved forward in the darkness, getting further and further away from his own soul world. This was the first time he had been so far from his own soul world. He had never been this far before. Lin Moyu constantly sensed his own soul world. Once the sense became too weak, he would immediately return. He couldn't possibly risk his own life just to help the ancient Lotus ancestor. Gradually, Lin Moyu felt that the power of the Great Dao seemed to be weakening. But strangely, not all Great Dao powers were weakening. The most significant changes were in the Thousand Stars Great Dao, the Fortune Great Dao, and the Space Great Dao. The power of these three Great Daos weakened most noticeably, while the Undying Great Dao, Time Great Dao, and Power Great Dao didn't change much. He communicated mentally with the Destiny Lich, which told him that the Destiny Great Dao hadn't weakened either.
Could it be that even among Origin Great Daos, there are distinctions? The Space Great Dao and Time Great Dao are both Origin Great Daos, so why would the Space Great Dao weaken while the Time Great Dao is fine? It's not a matter of Great Dao types either. Among Illusory Great Daos, the Power Great Dao is fine, but the Fortune Great Dao weakened. How strange!
Lin Moyu didn't understand the reasoning behind this. He knew it was because his level wasn't high enough. Perhaps when his level was sufficient in the future, he would be able to understand. A faint light suddenly appeared in the dark world. The Destiny Lich called out softly, telling Lin Moyu they had arrived. The faint light before his eyes was the ancient Lotus ancestor's soul world. At this point, Lin Moyu was very far from his own soul world, but he could still sense it, though much weaker. He was just a bit short of the limit. Lin Moyu sighed lightly.
Fortunately, if it were any further, I would have to go back. Let's go see what a Great Dao Realm soul world looks like.
Lin Moyu approached, seeing a Great Dao Realm soul world for the first time. At first glance, a Great Dao Realm soul world didn't look much different from his own, both appearing like glowing bubbles. But looking carefully, one would find that the two were completely different. The Great Dao Realm soul world was surrounded by a mist, making it hazy and more concealed, greatly increasing its safety in the soul void. At the same time, the mist was formed by Great Daos, possessing considerable defensive power. It would be quite difficult for outsiders to break through. Within the mist, Lin Moyu saw numerous divine runes. Lin Moyu's eyes lit up.
A divine rune formation. Setting up a formation outside the soul world? So it can be done this way.
He didn't know what the interior of a Great Dao Realm soul world was like, but the exterior was fully visible to him. He felt that he could also make some modifications to his soul world. After finding the soul world, Lin Moyu continued to have the Destiny Lich guide him, pointing towards the direction of the ancient Lotus ancestor's soul. Chapter 3477. You're far from being able to play the waiting game. The Destiny Lich's small hand pointed in a direction. In the soul void, there was no concept of up, down, left, right, or cardinal directions. So-called positions all had to be oriented relative to oneself or one's soul world. Flying for a distance in the direction the Destiny Lich pointed, Lin Moyu sighed inwardly.
Fortunately, this direction isn't getting farther and farther from my soul world.
If the location of the ancient Lotus ancestor's soul was getting increasingly distant from his own soul world, he definitely wouldn't go there. At most, he would just wait beside the ancient Lotus ancestor's soul world. No matter what, his own life came first. Lin Moyu firmly remembered that he was only at the Dao Venerable Realm, not yet at the Great Dao Realm. He didn't yet have the qualification to roam freely in the soul void. Lin Moyu flew even more cautiously. If his guess wasn't wrong, the ancient Lotus ancestor would definitely encounter some dangers on her way back. These dangers were unknown. If he flew too fast, he might accidentally crash into them headfirst. The best outcome would be for the ancient Lotus ancestor to encounter danger, and then for him to appear and rescue her from peril. Of course, it wasn't about playing the hero rescuing the beauty, but about maximizing benefits this way. Sending charcoal in snowy weather was far better than adding flowers to brocade. If he could save the ancient Lotus ancestor when she was on the brink of death, the effect would certainly be the best. Lin Moyu never considered himself a good person. He considered many things from the perspective of benefits. As long as it didn't break his bottom line, there was nothing he couldn't do. Flying slowly, with the Destiny Lich's guidance, the direction remained correct. In the soul void, even the concept of time seemed to be lost. Lin Moyu didn't know how long he had been flying or how far he had gone. As long as he could still sense his own soul world, it was fine. Finally, a faint aura fluctuation came from directly ahead of him. In the soul void, any aura fluctuation couldn't travel very far. Being able to sense an aura meant the distance was already very close. Lin Moyu flew even slower, until the mist in his vision completely dispersed, and he could clearly see what was happening. The ancient Lotus ancestor's soul was battling with a peculiar soul body shaped like a shark with its mouth open. At this time, the ancient Lotus ancestor's condition wasn't good. Lin Moyu could clearly sense her weakness, and her soul itself had suffered not light injuries. One of her arms had even been severed. Losing an arm of the soul was a very troublesome matter, even for a great Tao realm being. Losing an arm of the physical body wasn't a problem. It could be easily recovered. But for the soul, it was much more troublesome. The ancient Lotus ancestor was wielding a ribbon, which was a good soul treasure. Sometimes it transformed into a large net, sometimes into a whip. It was thanks to this soul treasure that the ancient Lotus ancestor could continue to fight with her opponent. The shark-shaped soul body continuously spewed out large amounts of liquid, which turned into water, firmly sealing off the surroundings. The ancient Lotus ancestor had tried to break out several times, all ending in failure. Her situation wasn't good. Her injuries affected her combat power, and she clearly couldn't do anything about her opponent. The shark soul body wasn't in a hurry. It kept entangling with the ancient Lotus ancestor, already treating her as prey.
This shark has intelligence, and it's already at the Great Tao realm. If I want to kill it, I must get close and use the Catastrophe Scepter to strike it down. But its power is too strong. I probably can't get close. If the ancient Lotus ancestor were at her peak, she could find a way to entangle it. But now, she can't do that either.
Lin Moyu watched from afar, thinking of various methods, but felt none were very reliable. If not careful, not only would he fail to save her, but he might also get himself killed. After thinking for a while, Lin Moyu gave up the idea of killing the opponent. For him now, the best outcome would be to drive the opponent away. The ancient Lotus ancestor's condition was getting worse and worse. Lin Moyu knew he couldn't wait any longer. Seizing the opportunity, he waved his hand, and the world-burning fire suddenly flew out. The world-burning fire flew like a meteor above the shark, exploding with a boom and turning into a sea of fire. Lin Moyu was launching a sneak attack, and his move was decisive. The shark couldn't react in time. As he unleashed the world-burning fire, Lin Moyu simultaneously retreated, quickly disappearing into the mist of the soul void. The world-burning fire burned fiercely. When the shark was burned by the world-burning fire, it immediately let out miserable screams. Even though it was at the Great Tao realm, when faced with the world-burning fire, it still suffered unbearable pain. But for the world-burning fire to burn it to death wasn't so easy either. The shark roared in anger repeatedly. Its piercing voice bounced back and forth within the not-so-large area. The mist kept rolling, and the shark searched in the mist for traces of the sneak attacker. Lin Moyu had hidden quickly. It couldn't find a trace of him at all. The shark desperately shook its body, and the world-burning fire on its body slowly extinguished. At this moment, another fireball flew out from the mist, exploding with a boom. The world-burning fire that was about to extinguish intensified again. Lin Moyu had thrown out a second world-burning fire, while he himself had changed positions, continuing to hide. He wasn't confident in killing the shark, so he could only use this method to launch sneak attacks. Perhaps the shark would retreat in the face of difficulty. The shark roared frantically, searching for Lin Moyu, but to no avail. The ancient lotus ancestor gained a precious chance to catch her breath. Now, if she wanted to escape, the shark's soul body might not be able to stop her. The ancient lotus ancestor's gaze shifted, her eyes becoming sharp. Not only did she not escape, but she instead launched an attack on the shark, even more fiercely than before. Lin Moyu, peering through the mist, faintly saw the ancient lotus ancestor's actions.
How decisive!
It had to be said that the ancient lotus ancestor's action was correct. If she had escaped, that would have been the wrong decision. She and Lin Moyu had achieved tacit cooperation, with her in the open and Lin Moyu in hiding, jointly dealing with the shark. The shark frantically attacked the ancient lotus ancestor. The ancient lotus ancestor firmly defended, while using her treasure to entangle the shark. Bang! Another world-burning fire exploded above the shark's head. The shark, bathed in flames, screamed incessantly. The ancient lotus ancestor seized the opportunity again, turning from defense to offense. One powerful attack after another landed on the shark's body. When the shark launched a counterattack, the ancient lotus ancestor went back to defending. The shark couldn't kill the ancient lotus ancestor in a short time either. One world-burning fire after another kept exploding. The shark was continuously burned, and its aura began to weaken. Finally, it couldn't bear it anymore. Letting out sounds of unwillingness and anger, it flew towards the distance, disappearing into the mist. Lin Moyu, hidden in the mist, and the ancient lotus ancestor both let out a sigh of relief at the same time. The ancient lotus ancestor looked around. Now it was her turn to search for Lin Moyu. She didn't find Lin Moyu, but saw a point of firelight in the distance. The firelight was hidden in the mist, just at the limit of vision. If she retreated a few more steps, she wouldn't be able to see it. Lin Moyu had a very good grasp of distance, just enough for the ancient lotus ancestor to see. This way, even if the shark's soul body hadn't left, it wouldn't be able to see his position. The ancient lotus ancestor didn't suspect anything and immediately flew towards the location of the firelight. Meanwhile, Lin Moyu kept retreating, using the firelight to guide her. The two, one in front and one behind, flew in the mist, maintaining a certain distance. The ancient lotus ancestor didn't know that Lin Moyu had released a large number of skeleton generals along the way, using them to check the situation along the route. Sure enough, the shark hadn't really retreated. It was quietly following behind the ancient lotus ancestor. Lin Moyu saw this through the skeleton generals and couldn't help but laugh coldly in his heart.
You want to play the waiting game? You're far from being able to do that.